Japan Dyno, the best of Japan to you. Howdy, this is Andy of Japan Dyno, and I have for you a FAIRLADY Z32 純正メーターと NISMO full scale speedometer. So a FAIRLADY Z or Z, FAIRLADY Z GCZ32 stock gauge cluster with a NISMO aftermarket speedometer fitted. So this is the NISMO speedometer. This is the important part here. The stock cluster. The cluster is from a 1992. That's a Heisei Yonnen, a 1992 GCZ32 300ZX 2x2 T-bar roof with ABS. And the VG30DETT engine, of course, from an automatic vehicle, and having traveled 130,665 kilometers. So that's the cluster. The important thing, or the thing of value in here, of course, is the NISMO speedometer itself. And important to note that in overseas 300ZXs, the speedometer cannot be swapped into the stock cluster. You do need the whole entire cluster. So you have to swap this whole entire cluster into your vehicle. The cluster plugs and everything are identical, but the cluster structure for the JDM version is different. So you have to swap the whole cluster and not just the speedometer. So hence we have the whole cluster for you. So it's just a matter of swapping in this cluster instead of the European or American spec, and that will be fine. But if you tried to just swap in the speedometer into your cluster, it would not work. So the NISMO speedometer, 300 km per hour full scale speedometer. NISMO, of course, the branch of the Nissan Motor Company that specializes in aftermarket parts, and the 300 km per hour speedometer is the off-road and for racing purposes only speedometer. In Japan, the law is no speedometer can read above 180 kilometers per hour for road purposes. So any stock JDM, Japan domestic market cluster that you see, gauge cluster you see, will only have 180 kilometers as the top speed. This has 300 kilometers per hour, so is for off-road and racing purposes only, although commonly used illegally on the road here in Japan. Made by the NISMO company, branch of the Nissan Motor Company, specializing in racing. The other side of the cluster, as you can see, very tidy. These photos are all a little overexposed, so the actual color is a little bit darker than this, but overexposed just so that we can see all the little blemishes on it, and it exaggerates even the dust here. But a very, very tidy gauge cluster, 130,000 kilometers traveled. And the side here, so the giving a better indication of the actual color of the cluster, a slightly darker gray than as we saw previously. This is with the clear cover fitted, so the previous photos without the clear cover. And the back of the unit with the plugs and short length of wire, although the stock plugs from the JDM and US DM and European domestic market vehicles will all fit directly into this. So not really necessary, but it does have the plugs and the harnesses there. So a Z32 300ZX full-scale speedometer by the NISMO Company of Japan in the cluster, which is necessary for fitting the speedometer to the US domestic market or European domestic market versions of the 300ZX. Thank you. In order to serve you better, we have our website at www.japandyno.com, as well as our blog, the Japan Dyno Daily Fix, where we feature items of special interest. Look forward to seeing you there.